Hey everyone, welcome to today's session, Simplifying Your Journey to the Cloud. I'm Paul Lupino and I look after the global data restoration and migration services business at Iron Mountain. So I think this is going to be a familiar story for a lot of people. There's more data coming in than anyone knows what to do with, and you've got to manage your old data, many times for compliance or regulatory reasons. And so the question we hear a lot of customers ask is what is the best way to deal with this sort of problem when I've got new data coming in, I've got to preserve old stuff, and it's just mountains and mountains of things I've got to manage. So we have a couple of solutions that we talk to folks about. Today, we'll talk about the data restoration and migration services, mainly how to manage your legacy data, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. So again, we've got this balancing act, right? We have people with new data being created all the time, and they've got this legacy data on probably multimedia options, tape, disk, that sort of thing. And what do you do with it? Even when you have your old stuff, are you able to still read it? Do you have the applications and equipment to get to it, right? And when you've got the day job stuff of managing your current data and backup platforms and that sort of thing, do you have time to go back to that legacy when a request comes in? So not surprisingly, there's a ton of legacy data in the corporate environment. A lot of it's still on tape, and people are trying to figure out, well, what do I do with it? And there's data that they, again, need to keep because the clock has to run out on it before they can get rid of it, but they want to keep it usually as cheaply as possible, but accessible as possible as well. And so we find that when we talk to our customers about how often they're accessing this stuff, it is infrequent, but say 2 or 3 times a year. But when they need it, right? And they need to get access to it quickly because it's usually the legal department asking for it, or it's protection from an intellectual property case, that sort of thing. So that it's really important to get it in a timely manner when that data is requested. So the common things that we hear people complain about, and I'll give you a couple of case study examples as well. I don't have the people or the staff or the time to do this because, again, I'm keeping the lights on. So I don't have time to stop what I'm doing and go, dig through 100 tapes to find emails from 7 years ago. I don't have the environment anymore. So I might not have the drives or the know-how, to be able to get to that data, whatever it was written on. Maybe I bought another company and the data is on that company's, former backup system that I don't have anymore. So, we run into customers regularly with, I tried to do this myself, but I don't have an LTO4 drive, as an example. So sometimes the physical environment or the applications are just unavailable. And then there's the cost of doing it, right? People aren't free. Time that people's labor is and time sink is a real cost. And so you have to think about, okay, do I have the people? Do I know how to get access to this data? Do I have the ability to do it, physically? And what am I giving up in order to get this done, right? So most people don't have an extra set of staff just for the off chance that the legal department's going to request something. So you have to use the people you've got, right? And then that means they can't be doing something else or the important work of the day. So here's where some of the use cases come in about how people deal with this. So we do have customers who come to us and say, I want to move all this data all at once. And we often have to counsel them about whether or not that's a good idea, because it can be expensive to touch all of the different media types that people have. And it can be sometimes just time consuming to get it done. So when we talk to people about moving all the data all at once, we want to have a compelling reason to do that, right? So in the entertainment industry, for example, you might have a way to monetize that data once it's freed from a tape or, other legacy media, and you can sell it to somebody or make it available. We've got a company we've worked with genomics data, and they have the ability to randomize that data and then sell it to other research firms. So that makes a ton of sense for them to spend the money and invest getting that data off of tape and into the cloud, because that gives them better access to it and they can monetize it. Oftentimes customers want to make this move because they're trying to get off physical tape. And so we also have the ability to do this over time, right? And so we can say, hey, if your budget doesn't allow for you to do this all at once, but you really do need to get it there, we can chunk out the work. And maybe we only do certain numbers of tapes per month, or or we spread it out over a year or two, that sort of thing. We're working with a nonprofit today that basically said, I've got a lot of video that I need to get into AWS to make it more available. Great. I don't have a ton of money, so I need to be able to budget this. And so we worked with them to figure out, okay, over the next 7 to 8 months, we can get all of your content there. And we did it in such a way that we're processing only the amount that they have to be able to spend, in that budget cycle. So that's an over time sort of piece. And then there's sort of ad hoc or only some. And that's probably the most popular thing when people start to look at the cost of moving this data. And it's basically, hey, Iron Mountain, let me keep it where it is, and I'll come to you if I need you to help me access it, because you've got the media, the equipment, that sort of thing. And when I do want it, I'll make the request, and then you deliver it in the cloud or secure FTP or back on an encrypted drive, that sort of thing. So the only some option ends up being the most popular. We have a couple ways to consume that service, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So a common scenario is a customer says, hey, I'm moving to a new backup system, or I'm upgrading the version of the backup, and I'm going to go to, for example, AWS. So what the typical scenario is I pick the new technology, and I'm going to run my old technology alongside of it for a few months just to make sure everything works the way I expect it. Once I've done that, I would like to not be paying for or using the legacy, materials, but I need to keep them around because that's how I'm going to access that legacy data. In this scenario, we can say, pick your new technology, start using it next week. You can run both together for a while if that's what you want to do. But when you're ready to retire that old backup system, Iron Mountain can, if it's tape, for example, host your catalog. We have the hardware and the capability of providing that data to you, and you do it on demand, and we'll deliver it into the cloud of your choice. So basically, the day forward concept is, again, you pick your new technology, give Iron Mountain your old stuff, and we'll work to get that into the cloud however you want to do it. Again, over time or all at once if that's what you're looking for. Or like I said, most common is going to be the ad hoc, I'll call you when I need you. So the scenario you're seeing here is basically depicting the ability for us to get any data off of any platform in pretty much any commercially available backup product that's existed. We can deliver it on a data shuttle, or we can do it over the wire. We can also help you to destroy the asset once you're done with it. So if you've moved all the data off of, say, tape or DVDs or old hard drives, and you don't need those anymore, once the data is in the cloud and you've confirmed everything is as you want it, we can help you with our services to, like I said, to destroy that original asset. At the bottom of this slide, what you're seeing is, again, any commercially available product for backup, the ability to move it. And then in the bottom right, you're seeing what we typically do, which is to deliver these files into their native file format. So we're going to extract it from the backup software, and we're going to make the PDF or the PST available. We are seeing some customers say, hey, I don't need the native file format, but I really do just want to get off of tape. So another version of this can be, we'll take the copy of whatever the backup software is, and we'll do an image of that tape. We'll move the tape image to the cloud. And then at some point in the future, you will still have to do some restoration activity on it. You're not going to get that native file format initially, but you're also not going to get the cost to do the full rehydration. So we are seeing some customers say, I just don't want to be on physical tape anymore, but I really don't need to access this data, quickly, and I'll call you when I need you. So if you can just move the image, that's another sort of becoming popular way to do this. So I'll give you a few of these written case studies and just add some others as we go. So in this particular example, Conan O'Brien had 25 years worth of various video, types over a couple different networks that he was on. And he was looking to build a 25th anniversary website, and it happens that this was going to be hosted on AWS. So he's got all these tape formats going back 25 years. Definitely did not have the capability to read some of the old stuff. So basically said, hey, Iron Mountain, can you work with us in AWS to get access to that legacy material? Once we've got it, we'll make it available in a standard format. Iron Mountain in conjunction with our entertainment services group, was able to also do some quality control on that data once it was rehydrated from the tape. So the net result is that Conan O'Brien's production team got all of this raw data. It got the quality control check so that the voices matched when the sound matches when the mouth is moving, that sort of thing. And we got it, set up in their S3 bucket in AWS for access for this website. So that was a successful play for us. A&E Networks is a little bit of a different challenge. They wanted to go back to their back catalog because COVID had happened and they couldn't film new stuff. And so they were looking to say, hey, Iron Mountain, can you help me access my back catalog so I can reintroduce some content and maybe it'll appear new to people who haven't seen it before. And that will give me something to monetize while I'm unable to get new production and new filming in. So this was specifically a project to go to that back catalog and get that access. In this case, the financial firm that was looking to move a ton of data, and they need access to it because they do have any heavily regulated industry is going to have this problem where they need to get access quickly when they need it, right? In this case, again, they were migrating specific things to AWS, and then they wanted the rest of it to remain on tape until or if they called for it. And then when they wanted it restored, they wanted it to be delivered in that AWS bucket. So we were able to help them to manage that legacy while getting their data into AWS. We've got a couple of other use cases around this, and pretty much anything customers want to do, we can help them with. We've done some ransomware recoveries where customer has had copy of the data, maybe their production database on tape as a break glass in case of emergency, piece, even though the production data was running in the cloud. And we've helped them to recover that in a clean room environment, given them the production files back so they're able to get back on their feet and do all that, securely because the data was originally on a tape. So there are a bunch of different sort of sub-use cases in these as well. So as I was mentioning, we have basically we could talk about one for every one of these, but I'll give you a couple of more examples. In the government space, we've done a lot of work with data, again, tons of data, thousands of tapes, and the inability to quickly access that when you need to get, email, that sort of thing. So you've probably seen, court cases or Senate hearings where they've gone to a government agency and said, hey, I need, XYZ data. That's a pretty big effort for somebody to do. And so they've come to us and said, hey, I need help to access this data. Iron Mountain, can you put this in a program and, get the data for me when I need it? In the healthcare space, we've had a customer who had 15 different sites, which means they were paying for 15 different backup licenses. They had 15 different sets of equipment in this location and people to run that equipment in all of those locations. So what we did for them was to consolidate their backup product by saying, hey, take all your catalogs and let's see if we can reduce them to just a few of them. Let's also see if we can get that into one location instead of 15. And what do you get for that trade-off? You can stop paying for the backup license. You can stop paying for the people to do that extra work. You can put them on some other projects. You've reduced your costs or eliminated your costs, I should say, for hardware maintenance and data center floor space and that sort of thing. So we ended up saving this particular healthcare company, I'm thinking about $500,000 a year just in cost avoidance from some of the things that we were able to do when we consolidated their catalog. Financial services, I mentioned, heavily regulated industries have to be able to keep their data. They need to be able to access it when the time, when it's requested. And it usually is a pretty frequent request, right? So if you need to go back and look at financial transactions or SEC compliant, data, this is an example of why you want to use Iron Mountain to be able to access that legacy material relatively quickly and without you having to worry about having the hardware or the software or the know-how or the time to be able to get it. And, we've done some work in the retail space. We've had a couple of customers who have gone bankrupt and have made the news for that and then still need to keep their assets because they've now been acquired by a holding company, for example, and they need to be able to keep their data assets, whether it's transactions or historical data, that sort of thing, because you never know when that data may be needed in the future. So basically all types of use cases for all types of industries. So what I've been sharing with you so far is the basic concept of the managed service. So just to tie it all together, we are looking to help customers to transform their legacy environments, whatever it's on. We also are able to help you, again, if the data is not on tape, it can be on disk, that sort of thing. But the thing to remember is that you're looking to, whether you've acquired another company, whether you're just changing your backup product, whether you're upgrading your backup product, you're looking for a managed service to be able to help you deal with that legacy so that you don't have to deal with it. What you're looking for in that service is the proven ability to do it with a proven chain of custody and the ability to do it relatively quickly. Because like I said, if your legal department's asking you for the data, there's a reason, and there's usually a fine or a fee associated with being late to providing that data. So the rapid restore for compliance purposes is super important, and what most of our customers ask us to do for them. I mentioned earlier the healthcare company that was able to consolidate their catalogs and save a bunch of money. We should be able to provide a service for you cheaper than you can do it yourself, right? And we have TCO tools that we can help you go through and build a business case. But thinking again about the stuff that you're saving, no backup license fees, no hardware maintenance fees, no floor space in the data center, no labor to do the restore request when that comes up. Those are real savings when you start to add them up. And so, looking at a managed service to provide it is usually pretty attractive. And we find most customers can save somewhere between 40 and 70% of what they were paying to run the thing themselves, right? So the legacy environment is still available. The data can be recovered quickly, but you don't have to do any of it. And you don't have to manage the legacy environments, which oftentimes are headaches to keep up with. So, and again, we've talked a couple of times about this, the migration to the cloud. Everybody is moving workloads to the cloud. So the ability to do that in a repeatable, easy way, whether or not you want to do it again all at once or sort of piecemeal, we can accommodate, any of those options. So one of our partners is AWS, and the advantage for us working with them is to be able to help get the data to a cloud bucket where you then have access to the other things in the AWS ecosystem. I mean, it's true for any cloud provider we work with, and we work with everybody. But in this particular example, we've had customers say, hey, I want to move this data because I need access to name your tool, right? We're working with a customer who's in the entertainment industry, and they need the ability to, once the data is liberated from the tape and rehydrated into usable format, they want to be able to use some of the AWS tools for, in this case, it's character development. They want to go back and find all of the files associated with game characters from the last decade or more. And so AWS has some ability to do that. So once we've given them the raw data to work with, the customer then has even more access to things to make that more valuable for them. So again, I think any cloud provider works, but we are partners with AWS, and I'd say a vast majority of the customers that we talk to have either already started the move to AWS or are in the process of doing it. And so I think that when you're thinking about how do you manage this legacy, you can migrate your data without the cost of migration. If you need to fully migrate it because you've got a way to monetize it, we can help you do that. If you need the data accessible so you can do further analytics or compute on it, we can help you get there as well. So I think knowing what you've got and being able to make some decisions about what and where you want to move the data, and you can sort of do it on your own terms, makes it a better together play that a lot of people really appreciate that we can do that for them. So if you've got questions or you want to learn more, or you have a use case that maybe is a little bit different than what I've talked about today, we'd love for you to reach out to your Iron Mountain sales representative. You can go to ironmountain.com, and you can also look at some of our video explainers on some of the other things people do to get to this data and what else we can do with them, and some of the other Iron Mountain services that kind of couple with them as well. And we'd be happy to, so like I said, give you more information. I want to thank you for your time today. Hopefully you learned something that you didn't know about Iron Mountain, and that we can help you in some future work when you've got legacy data you're looking to manage in a more efficient way.